So let's talk about the competitive environment in Papua New Guinea, which is something that is of interest to both of you. There's a level playing field that you can compete fairly. At the moment we have a national ICT authority, which is the regulator for your sector. How is that working out as far as giving you a level playing field? What else could be done to improve or clarify the regulation of your sector to enable you to actually be more confident about building your businesses into the future? Maybe, Colin, we'll start with you.
So we have NICTA, which is the national regulator within Papua New Guinea. They're relatively active and progressive within the market. I think they have the same goals that Nirmal and I have talked about, is continuing to disseminate telecommunications to as many people across the country as possible. And I think, is there anything that they could be doing better? Is there anything that they could change? Look, I think as the market matures, there will be decisions that the regulator make, and I know Nirmal and myself, we're in constant dialogue, as the regulator brings out discussion papers or focus, just to make sure that I suppose the industry is progressing. Mm-hmm. Anyone in this room that competes in, we heard obviously hotel operators earlier, etc. Everyone just wants a fair playing field, and I think a fair playing field is there in Papua New Guinea. Are there things that could be done better? Are there things that could be improved? Yes, but I think that regulator is fairly active within in the space, and obviously working through the Minister of ICT as well, and Stephen, I think he's here somewhere in the room, and the work that they're doing there to continue to connect the unconnected, as we've both said on stage today.
Noel, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think from a personal point of view, you've seen reduction in pricing with the third entrant, with Vodafone, but I believe competition will grow more and prices will go lower if we can introduce number portability, and that's the key,
right,
which is not there at the moment in PNG. And a lot of people have numbers over the years which they want to keep, obviously, and that's the challenging part we're finding at the moment. So what's happening is most of them would have dual SIM and top up when whoever's plan is cheaper for the week, for the day. If number portability does come, then I believe we'll see a greater competition in the market, and it'll give people choice, right? That's all it's about, having a choice, which is missing at the moment.
Is that a current policy, is it not? There is an intent to do that?
There is intention. There's some papers out. There's discussion going on. Mm-hmm. When it's going to happen, we don't know. I would rather sooner than later. But that will be key for us to grow our footprint. Mm. The other thing is, which probably most of you don't know and probably know who is in the industry, is Dataco is the only wholesaler in the country. Obviously, we're talking about retail competition. Now we have 3. We don't have any competition in the wholesale sector. Right. And having said that, they actually compete with us and sell at prices which they shouldn't be. They actually sell to direct customers as well.
Right.
That's where the regulation has to come in and demarcate. Are they going to be a wholesaler or a reseller? They can't be both. Mm. So that's important. They have to look. NICTA should look at that seriously. We have made our comments. I think you've done as well in the past. So that should change, and maybe introduce another player or another gateway in the country as a wholesaler. Then they have to act. Their services will improve because they're competing for the same business. When you have a monopoly in any industry, it doesn't help anyone. Mm.
I think just on that one, to put it in context, Coral Sea's cable is 32 times the price of the equivalent service in Australia. Now, we're certainly not 32 times the retail consumer price, but that is a barrier to lowering prices within the country. Now, there's an argument that as demand increases, prices come down because it's there's sunk cost in those assets, and we know Dataco needs to keep investing in the national backhaul mechanism. So there is an understanding at a level that we have that, okay, maybe it's expensive, but we're doing everything we can, and Nirmal touched on it, power availability, et cetera, will eventually bring those consumer prices down, and a little bit of healthy competition's always good as well in the marketplace. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody welcomes competition. Again, I mean, it seems to benefit all sectors. So we've looked at the regulator, and we've touched on Dataco, which I think is an important question of infrastructure. Now, Colin, Digicel has spent a lot of money since you entered the market on your own infrastructure that wasn't there. You had greenfield sites all over the country. You had to build them from scratch. Now, obviously, if there is a policy which would allow co-location, that you might perceive that to be to your advantage or to your disadvantage. How would you see sharing of sites and so forth as we move into the future? Is there a scenario under which that would work for Digicel, or is it really something you would be reluctant to do?
I don't think it's really. I suppose there's two aspects to this. Under regulation within Papua New Guinea, under ICT, the Department of NICTA, there is a coverage obligation that all telcos have to undertake, which is effectively an investment focus. You can't just come and cherry pick the cities. You have to build to all the provinces within Papua New Guinea. The other thing is when we built the mobile network and these greenfield sites, especially in rural PNG, we had people walk up to the top of hills, cut down trees, build landing pads for helicopters, to then fly the helicopter and to then dig a big hole in the ground, to then put up the structure.
Yep.
Now these structures can have up to 200, 300 kg worth of equipment at the top. The problem is well, not the problem, but I suppose how we built the network, especially in rural PNG, is we're not going to build a tower when it's so costly and difficult that can carry 1,000 kg of equipment at the top. We build it so that, I wouldn't call it as cheap as possible, but we look at wind loading and earthquakes, especially in the Highlands region, for example. And a lot of the towers we build simply can't take 4 or 5, 2 or 3 operators' equipment just because they were so costly to build in the first place. Mobile tower sharing, I think, is something that's been discussed through NICTA, and I know that they've issued discussion papers on it, and we consult on those discussion papers and work with NICTA around resolutions to perceived issues within the market. But those are the two things that need to be taken into account. Is people have licence obligations to build out. You can't just, building in the cities is easy. You can't come and cherry pick cities in a country like PNG. You have to invest nationally. And secondly, we don't want to see towers fall over, and the cost of building a tower that can take 600 kg of equipment versus 200 kg of equipment, you can imagine how exponentially that increases. So a lot of that wasn't done, Andrew.
Some question from the app. Do you know, based on your relationship with the wholesaler, what steps are being taken to improve the reliability of the cable connection? Both, I guess, the domestic one, but also the international one.
Yeah, I think, look, PNG is not an easy country to build anything because of the topology and the difficulty they go through. The challenge there is the cable they build is actually not underground, and it's run over the electricity poles. So when there is a breakage, it takes time for PNG Power to switch off the power before they can build. That's where the delay is, and that's where the biggest challenge. For Datako, I think they've done a great job so far, what they have achieved. But I think what needs to be done is obviously there should be another wholesaler in the country that will compete, so they can look at other options, like what Colin was saying, that Digicel is pulling their own fibre. Obviously, there's a reason behind it.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually, you're your own wholesaler. You have to provide your own network.
Yeah. But if you look at the actual fibre, the issue is not always on the seaside. Where they've done the submarine cables, they're quite reliable. All the connections they've done to the NGI, they hardly fail. The major issues we face is in Leh, and that is because they have fibre running on the poles, and when it breaks, it takes time. And that's the way it's going to be, because it's the nature of the design. And doing fibre underground will cost a lot more money. So what I think will happen is, what should be happening is, when they develop the new grid, they're talking about covering 70% of PNG, they should actually run the fibre underground while they're making the roads audible. Then the reliability will improve.
Right. Quick question, and then we'll open it up if anyone has. If you want to show a hand, if you're going to, there's one over here in a moment which we'll go to. Colin, just before we move to that question, you're entering a new relationship. You're reporting into Telstra International. Very sensibly, Telstra seem to have made the signal to the market that they want to, as you said in your presentation, keep, the local team stays the same, the brand stays the same. Do you detect any sense of a cultural difference between the two organisations at this stage? And do you think there might be some benefits to Digicel from that relationship with the Telstra parent?
Yeah, from a from a culture perspective, I think we're very similar to Telstra. From certainly the thousands of people I seem to have met so far in Telstra, that they have a very similar culture to us, and they've done some fantastic things in rural and remote Australia as well, connecting what were the unconnected within those areas. Telstra's a massive machine, obviously the leading telco within Australia. 100% we can learn from them. I mean, they have suites of products that we haven't rolled out. Some of the learnings that they've made through their work with the Australian government as well, we hope to be able to bring to PNG and assist the programs that Stephen and the Department of ICT have as well, things like cybersecurity and things like that. But PNG is unique. PNG is not Sydney, and I think this is one of the things Telstra is also looking at, and I don't want to put words into their mouths, but they're looking at it and saying, geez, this is not the easiest place to operate, so we need people that have operated here before. And experience in Papua New Guinea, and we make mistakes all the time, but we learn quickly from our mistakes, and we hope, we plan not to make the same mistake twice. But it's PNG, so things happen, and as I say, I wake up every morning and go, well, that was unexpected, and we take learnings from all of those. So.
Great. Yes, over there.
Thank you so much.
You could just introduce yourself first, please.
Sure, Rob Sequeira. So I'm the Head of Solutions for the Pacific Islands at Amazon Web Services. Firstly, thank you, Colin and Nirmal, for your presentation. It was very informative. And I think that the work you're doing is really going to help connect the unconnected in Papua New Guinea. It's fantastic to see. And Colin, as you called out, it's essential for things like cloud and ICT. You spoke a little bit about competition, and I'm sort of curious with Starlink and which is SpaceX's low Earth orbit satellite solution. I'm wondering how you both view that, and are there opportunities for partnering with that organisation?
Colin?
So from a Starlink perspective, we need, as a telco provider, we need what we call carrier grade service. And a lot of those are focused more on a consumer grade service. Now, it's one thing to be able to offer a Starlink service into Papua New Guinea, but from my understanding, you've still got to have a credit card, and with financial exclusion the way it is in rural Papua New Guinea today, some of the businesses here may be able to access those services, but there's other issues as well, especially with services like you guys run on AWS. Latency becomes an issue. If you have to backhaul it, because I understand some of those services you need the backhaul within 600 kilometres of the actual endpoint, which obviously causes issue because it still has to land then in Port Moresby and then be trunked across to Sydney on the Coral Seas cable. I think what we call access mechanisms, there is room for all of them within the market. Are we going to partner with them? Time will tell. Will they be our competitor? Time will tell. How will they fare in servicing customers in rural PNG? Well, time will tell on that as well. So, yeah.
Nirmal, did you want to add anything to it?
Yeah, I think Colin's spot on what he said. The difficulty is going to be it's not a commercial grade service,
right.
But I think the rural population will benefit because obviously at least they have a faster internet because latency is much lower, what we compared to the traditional C-band and KU band that's been provided. That will help, and the services will improve. And I think the real beneficiary will be the schools, the remote schools, and the centers like they don't require a static IP address, just the internet. And everybody's moving towards cloud-based anyway. So I think benefit will come. As far as the partnership is concerned, I mean, we're open to everybody. We don't have any closed doors. We collaborate with Digicel, looking forward to that, with Telecom. If we can add value to that, our services, why not? We'll partner with them.